Welcome to episode 105 of the Nero Show. In today's episode,
if you've got 20,000 Australian dollars, what's the best way to spec a bike? I think that is it. We chat through this build.
I disagree. The SL8 is vastly superior in every way. I'm going to try and convince Jesse.
One by drivetrains, tubeless tyres, heat training, aero bikes, Chinese Groupsets, wins and losses from our hyped up products coming into 2024.
And Tom Pidcock takes the weekend off to go sailing with the America's Cup team. We find out what's going on at INEOS.
All right, let's get into it.
Good afternoon, Jesse Coyle. How are you today?
Hello, I am very well. Thanks for having me in the studio today.
Well, it's great to have you, Jesse, and it's great to be joined here today by a guest appearance by a dog itself, sitting up there.
Oh.
No, well, just quick backstory.
The problem is this is going to look like an absolute setup because, long story short, we have a bike here which I'm going to be riding. This is not how this whole saga started.
This is great. So basically, this bike appeared on Instagram, I reckon, about a week ago, and it followed this. Oh, he's messaging me about. Oh, I love this bike. He's reposting it on his Instagram. I don't know if anyone follows him on Instagram who watches this, but it's pretty slim pickings as far as what Jesse gets around. And he's in there. He's liking the post, and he's going on about it. And then next minute, I look into the show notes, and he's got a whole bloody piece about it. I was like, hang on. I recognise that bike. So chase it up with the owner, and turns out they're away for a little bit, and they let me go and grab it, bring it in here, and we can not only or pick it apart, but talk. You might get a chance to ride it, actually.
That's pretty much how it went. And for those that are just listening and can't see it, firstly, if you're watching on YouTube, what is it? Can you recognise what it is? Because there's no logos on the frame, so seasoned Nero Show viewers should know what that silhouette of a frame is.
I couldn't get it first off.
You didn't know? Yeah.
No,
yeah, that was
interesting.
It is an Enve Melee. And you're 100% right. I was just having a scroll through Instagram. It popped up. I went, oh. And initially, it's obviously the color that got my eye. So it's a white in the back fading to a really bright yellow. So it's custom painted. Thought that looks nice. And then I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, zero offset seat post. Interesting. I like it. Oh, slam stem and it looks fairly long. Interesting. What has it got? Oh, new SRAM red, but with bigger chain rings. They look kind of big. Okay, interesting. And then you start digging deep, but wheels. It's the sort of the Caish OEM spec kind of fast sports looking wheels. I like it. I'm kind of going, this is ticking all my Coil Kool-Aid boxes. And yeah, all I did was shared it to my story and went, hey, look at this. It's kind of a Nero Show spec custom build. And then I honestly didn't know who owned it. Turns out it's someone that works at Caish, and now I'm going to be able to ride it. If you've gone and actually, Chris has gone and picked it up for me, actually.
What's so cool about this then? Like, you're saying it's ticking all the Kool-Aid boxes. Sell this to me.
Okay, well, can I spend some time on it then? Because the plan wasn't to ride it. I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was a cool custom build. Heart of the frame, Enve Melee. And Enve don't do stock builds. You've got to custom build it. And so, for those that have listened, obviously I'm going to like that. You get to pick all your own parts. So that was cool. Now, the owner's custom painted it, not through Enve. It's actually through a painter that is in the same suburb as the bike shop, as Caish. So they've got it custom painted. So I kind of like that in the sea of SL8s and Canyon Aeros. Custom painted frame, I think's making a comeback. But the actual frame, so Enve Melee, modern geometry frame, with slightly higher stack height at the front, which allows you to slam it and not be super actually in that much of an aggressive position. So as a starting point for a non-out-and-out racing frame, I like that slightly taller stack height. But then you're going, okay, endurance bike, you're way over the bottom bracket and you can't get your road position. Well, not really, because it's got that D-shaped seat post and they've managed to get, it looks like zero offset. Or it couldn't be, maybe a couple mil back, but you're quite far over the bottom bracket there. So I like that, sitting nice further forward, and then not too low in the front. Also like the wheels. It's an Enve. Yeah, it's a custom build. It's probably going to be close to 20 grand Aussie dollars. But you're kind of looking at the wheel set and you're going, I'll just go an OEM spec. So these are the Caish wheels. They look like a fast sports rim. It's a carbon spoke. It's a 24 internal, I think. 32 external. I think it's like 1,200 grams. It's the classic what you want now of your direct from Asia, light, ticks a box, no fuss. Cool. You don't need flashy Princeton Carbon Works wheels when you got a nice custom painted Enve frame. New SRAM Red. I think the SRAM Red is the new leader over Dura Ace. So if I was going to do a top spec build, I'd pick Red over Dura Ace. But you need, I like regular Shimano style road gearing. And so it's paired with, it's actually not as big as it looked on the post. I thought it was maybe a 53, 54. It's a 52. And then a cassette that looks like a 30.
That's a 30. Oh, no, that's a 36.
Maybe it was a bit of an optical illusion because the top cog is black. It actually is quite a big cassette. It's a 36.
That's what I ran.
That's not insane.
That's what I ran one by on the S5. And that chainring, that cassette is insanely light. You pick that up and you're just like, where is the material in this? It's nuts. Yeah, nice configuration.
Yeah, so you got the 10 tooth at the back. A 52 is probably smaller than I'd like, but I think compared to some of the wacky, tiny, small front rings and stupid stuff you can do with SRAM, I think that's a pretty smart way to spec it. GP5000s, tubeless, 32 millimeters. Nice. Ceramic Speed OSPW. Totally unnecessary. Absolutely almost pointless. But I rode one in 2019 and I really liked it. I thought it actually made the shifting slightly better and the crank spin really smooth. So you've saved $1,500 on the wheels, and so you buy a Ceramic Speed OSPW and the bike costs the same.
I saw someone say the other day they got Ceramic Speed oversized jockey wheels because it's easier to clean the jockey wheels.
There you go.
There you go. You don't have to get in there with $1,000 just to make your bike clean a bit better. But anyway, whatever floats your boat. Did you talk about the bar and stem?
Now, that's the things I like. That's the cool aids. That's what got me going, yeah, someone's thought this through when they've built it. But it's not all gravy. The Enve separate bar and stem. The fact that it's separate, I think is fine. It's still all run internally, which is good, and there's still an aero-shaped handlebar. And the Enve bars are nice. You have ridden them before. You love them. A lot of people rant and rave about the position that gets you in. The stem looks nice. I just think you could easily put a set of integrated one-piece, a Fast Sports or even the Cervelo ones you could buy, and it'd probably be cheaper than that. So not totally frothing that. And you could kind of, for me, the handlebar and stem, you can go same route as the wheels, where you just save the money. You don't even really see it. And the more value ones are just as good. And it's got carbon tie rotors, which I also don't like. I mean, you're probably saving a bit of weight. The braking's probably not going to be as good. And they're not as Edwin said, they're not as stiff. They flex a bit more. So just probably not the smartest place to try and save money. Sorry, to try and save weight. So I'd probably just go with the SRAM Red ones. That was the two things I thought, probably wouldn't go with.
Those bars, whilst they do put you in a really nice shape, I don't know if stiff's the right word, but they're not great at dampening, like vibration dampening.
I remember you said that, yeah.
That was my only sort of criticism on those.
Now, obviously, price is a thing. So I think this would cost about 18,000 Aussie if you were custom building it. But firstly, that's custom built, and so you don't need to change anything. And that's the cost of a Trek Bedode, SLA, you name it. In Australian dollars, they're all 18 to 20. And so you've got a custom painted, custom built Enve Melee. You're probably $2,000 under an S-Works SL8 build. And so I think that's a decent way to spend your money if you want to drop 18K on a bike.
I think you've lost the plot, Jesse Coyle.
Okay.
I think you've lost the actual plot. Yes, you're very right. There's some lovely specific specifications on here, but there's a saying that goes something along the lines of you can't put lipstick on a pig and send her to the ball. I don't know. I don't remember how that ends. But anyway, that's my thing here, because at the absolute core of this, Jesse Coyle, we are looking at an Enve Melee frame, which is not the right frame for you. And given just what you said in terms of the price that we are looking at, you're going to ultimately be disappointed by the performance of this frame, given how high spec this bike is, how how tweaked it is. You've got everything you wanted on it, but you've got a frame that is not aero optimized. I'm sorry, it's just not. I mean, you see aero better than I see aero, but I have a little insight into your aerodynamic vision, and it doesn't have the big head tube. I mean, your Cervelo, I reckon their head tubes will be twice as deep as that.
Yep.
It's got a kind of Bowie-ness to the rear, which to me it would be very relaxed, very compliant, but certainly not snappy.
The down tube looks like the TCR. It's the same shape, which is that box section opposite of an S5 Cervelo.
Like almost a D.
Road.
It's a D shape, isn't it? Again, I saw the post. I like the look of the bike, but I think for what because this is the bike that comes with fender mounts.
Yep.
This is the bike that doesn't know what it is. And as much as I want to get around this as an endurance bike option, I'm not going to go into that argument again today.
Yeah, okay.
But
I'm with you. I just didn't say this is the ultimate race bike for me. I just thought it was very well thought out. And if I was going to, yes, this wouldn't be my perfect race bike. But if it was, I don't really care about smashing A-grade crits anymore. I just want to do the chop and go to Bob and Head and maybe do a Tuesday night Heffron for fun. I think this would get the job done. And I don't want to totally dismiss what you said about it being a lot smoother and a lot more fun to ride. Because I had a message from someone called, they replied to that story. This is how we do my research. You're just pulling anecdotal stories. So Braden sent me a message.
I've got an anecdote to reply to your anecdote.
Okay, good.
So go on.
Having ridden an S-Works SL8, Lab 71 Super 6, New Benone, etc., my Melee is my favorite bike I've ever had. Need you and Chris to try one out because it's just incredibly smooth and fun. And that's kind of what where I'm going down. I'm not competing with the Canyon Aero. I want to have fun, and I still want to go fast, and I want to race, but I'm more concerned with enjoying every ride I do, and I think that would do it.
I'm going to muddy the waters a little bit more. I've mentioned a guy who I race a bit here, Kev, and he had a bad crash. It was on a Venge. It was replaced with an SL8. He rode the SL8 for literally 3 months. He's a crit racer. 3 months, hated it, and immediately went to the Melee and has loved it ever since. And the only way he can describe the differences of it is not straight away speed. He definitely feels like the SL8 was a faster straight line bike, but for a crit racer, he definitely felt like he was able to described it like carve corners much better with this bike than he did the SL8, which potentially slightly longer geometry, slightly longer wheelbase, that kind of thing works in his favor. So there is a reality where this is almost a performance bike for you in comparison to an SL8. I'll give you that.
This episode is supported by Peaks Challenge Falls Creek by Bicycle Network, Australia's most legendary cycling challenge. Taking place on March 9th next year, it's 235 kilometres of world-class cycling in Victoria's high country. The route clocks up over 4,000 metres of climbing, taking on Tawonga Gap, Mount Hotham, and finishing up the notorious back of Falls Creek. The kind of elevation test you'd usually see in the biggest mountain stages of the Tour de France. But Chris, you've done it twice. What makes it special?
It isn't one thing, Jesse. It's the whole experience that makes it unique. Of course, you have the physical challenge, but on top of that, you just have these incredible alpine vistas, the camaraderie amongst all the people entering it, the outstanding support from the Bicycle Network team, and above everything else, you have that sense of achievement that every single rider will feel when they make that left turn into the finish line. Keep in mind that Bicycle Network is there to get you to have the most rewarding day possible, with training options to make sure you have got the legs to finish it, and a team of wave leaders who ride the course at the appropriate pace to get you to the finish line in your goal time, up to the 13-hour cutoff.
So with over 70% of the tickets actually already sold, now is the time to commit to Peaks Challenge Falls Creek on March 9th. Enter now at Bicycle Network or Peaks Challenge and take on the Aussie Beast this summer.
And a big thanks to Bicycle Network and Peaks Challenge for supporting today's episode.
Now, the fun part here is usually if this was a Nero Show chat and this was a regular week, that we would have just ended the conversation here. And that would have been me chatting about a bike I saw on Instagram. You're welcome. Thanks for listening. But then I swear we didn't set this up. We were going to talk about this anyway. It just happens to be that the bike's sitting at Cache for 2 weeks and Chris is in there every second day. And so he's gone and picked it up for me.
And I'm sniffing around.
And so I'm going to take it home, swap the pedals. It's my size. Although if I was moving to the Enve Melee, I'd up a size. I'd go to a 58, get a bit more relaxed. But it's in my size. I'll adjust the seat height, and I'm gonna go do some rides on it.
The problem here is this is the first decent disc brake bike you've ever ridden.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to immediately quite like this. Okay. And the danger here is all this praise is going to get heaped on the Melee when really it should just be heaped on $20,000 bikes that are a cut above.
Okay, well
So you will have lost all your, Jesse's such he's such a value guy. He's looking after the people. I just desperately hope you like this bike.
What do you think is going to blow me away about this compared to the Cervelo?
Yeah, so this will be like the day that you got on the XR4 having ridden a Focus as Alco Max. It'll be that kind of, no, there's a bit more refined smoothness to this.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, I was bracing myself a little bit for that bump in the road that I always have to brace myself for, but I didn't have to. Oh, that's interesting. Wonder why. That's what I think it'll be.
Okay.
When you're flat out chopping, it'll be the exact same.
Okay.
But it's all the in-betweens, I reckon.
Okay. Yep. So the other thing I am going to have to do is the 360 watt effort because it's probably is going to be more comfortable. But I do want to do a few efforts on it just to see what the speed is roughly. See if I can notice any difference. Because that'll be important as well. Because it's an Enve Melee. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more comfortable. And the question is it just as quick? So I'll try and test that too as well. I haven't been riding. I'm going to have to ride more. I'm going to have to go.
Can you do 360 watts?
Well, yes, I did. Yes.
Whatever.
Yes,
all
I
right.
can still do that. I did it the other week. Yeah.
Can I flow that into, because my whole plan here was I was going to try and tell you that you're an idiot and that what you actually should do is you would have just got an SL8 in this circumstance. Okay? And the reason I was kind of going to go that route is someone slid into my DMs during the week and pressed me on a question.
I think people are just fucking with you now.
I know. I am very bad to replying to people on Instagram. But what tends to happen is I just think about them and then come on here. And it was just a sneaky little one. He said, Chris, hypothetically, I was like, I'm interested. If someone offered you an SL8 for your S5, would you take it? As a straight swap. I think I would, Jesse. Cool. Now, the last few months, this has been nibbling away at the back of my brain because I've started to see a few more. Yeah. Remember, this is coming from two people that just don't see this bike. And I saw one down at Amy's that I sniffed around, and then another one during the weekend. And GC actually put up a post with this particular colorway. It's like this baby blue, powder blue colorway. It reminds me of that Ridley Noahs that we used to have, that kind of blue color. But something about that color it almost accentuates the fact that the SL8 tubing is actually, it's quite rounded, and especially down at the bottom bracket. And okay, a lot of this is just potentially curiosity. I will very much put my hands up and admit to that.
Okay.
But where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire. And I do think that...
No. You're absolutely deluding yourself.
Okay.
You have got certified aero brain rot. There is absolutely no way you're moving to an SL8. every single race, every single ride, you'll just be thinking, oh, wish I was on the S5. I wish I had a deeper seat tube.
But I could have it all,
No,
Jesse.
no,
It's
no.
just, okay.
No, you wouldn't. It's not going to work.
But my thinking was more around it because I wouldn't do the Roval. I would do something similar to like an EXS handlebar and stem. I'm just not going down the route of the total shit show that seems to be that bar and stem. I would potentially do the same sort of thing with the wheels, steer away from the Roval wheels. Not that they don't test well, but again, just being able to customize and getting a nice wide internal rim width on it. Yeah, it just, and it's funny even the way Specialized package this bike. I think it's like 5,800 for the frame set. Whereas the actual
but
build
you could get the non-S-Works model.
I'm not doing that.
I know.
I'm getting
You could build
SLA.
because you'd easily get a sub 7 just regular Specialized model in your size, easy.
Yeah.
And so my honest opinion is that it would be a better bike for you. It would scratch that itch that you're getting on the TCR, but that you just can't mentally ride because it's so slow aerodynamically compared to the S5. But it would get you performing similar to the S5, but you'd get that snappiness back that you enjoy in the TCR. So I reckon it would be a good option. But I think your aero brain could not. Well, you'd constantly be thinking about what you're losing as soon as it gets above 47 kilometers an hour.
And yeah, I think once the curiosity wore off, I'd just be another S-Works rider.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to admit it, but there is we've talked about this a lot. There is a thing to what bike brand you ride and what it says about you as a cyclist. And I just probably couldn't wrap my head around that unless I could really customize it to make it look mine, I think.
I think it also is a hard sell because the S5 is already comfortable. So you're not sort of on this fast bike, but you actually really hate the ride feel. So you're not gaining there. All you're gaining is the snappiness.
Yep.
And the acceleration.
No, you're dead right. It's purely come about because of jumping back on the TCR and going, Jesus, this is great.
No, you just need you need a new S5 that's lighter.
Yeah.
Or you need to improve your current S5. You can't just you're not getting off that thing. Which is because Cervelo are due. That S5's already been, that last update was barely an update. So it's due for an update probably next year. So if they update it and it's kind of similar but sub 7 kilos, yeah. Yes.
We said this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
If they do it,
that's an instance.
It's like Masters Racing's just become.
Yeah.
They'll just issue them at the start line for all Masters races. It's done. Yeah. Sorry, just before we finish, I am so pumped to hear your reaction on this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, question that I just thought of. For fairness, do I use those wheels or do I put the CRWs on?
No, these wheels.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just don't start. No. Don't rabbit hole this. Stay out of the rabbit hole. You just.
But if I use the same wheels, it allows me to more fairly to discuss the frame in the group set, as opposed to changing the wheels. Because the CRW I've got is 75 in the back. I'm now going 50s. Like it'll be slower and I've changed the wheels. Like it makes a speed difference. I'll be slower in my.
You're just 75 rear.
Yeah, the 65.
Oh my God.
65.
Right.
Is it 75?
No, it's not 7. Can't
yeah,
be
it's
70.
50, 60s and the 65, 75. Yeah, it's a 70.
Oh, but you don't run this. Don't you normally run the 50, 60s?
No, I normally run the 50 front. I only have the 50 front. My rear wheel's always that 70,
oh, right.
75.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm considering, do I just change? Oh, no, because the free hub. No, sorry. Forget that. Fucking free hub proprietary. I can't even swap it anyway. So I'm running these wheels. Yep.
Yes. So it will be a
tiny bit slower.
The same. It'll be a tiny bit slower just in a pure straight line speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to force you to actually leave Centennial Park. So you might have to actually get a sense of it somewhere else.
Okay.
All right. Looking forward to that. This could be one of the great turnabouts because I'm pretty sure we shat all over the Melee when it was originally launched. Mm-hmm. Or maybe we just didn't know what it was.
We probably shat on it.
Yeah, we probably did.
Chances are.
Could be. I'll dig that content up.
That's all right. Well, we can make amends to Enve.
Hmm.
Yep.
Can I just quickly say this? And I'm allowing you to change this.
Okay.
white saddle with black bar tape. What is that about?
Yeah.
That's not on.
Yeah. Looks like a spare parts bin left over. I mean, and the owner of this bike doesn't need to be picking through the spare parts bin. So it's an interesting one.
Yes. Please explain. Alan, please explain. All right. We'll follow that up in the next couple of weeks.
Good.
All right. You come to the Nero Show for your pro cycling takes.
Yes.
But honestly, this is wild. It's got a bit of a link to us because it's friend of the show, Tom Pidcock. And this bizarre drama that took place prior to the final monument of the year. So the actual time frame of this is still a little bit confusing, but essentially he's preparing for the race. Beyond preparing, he travels to the race to go. He's in the bus with the team. The exact timing on when this occurs in terms of the day before or the 2 days before, but he's basically told that he has been deselected for Lombardia while at the race. He then goes on to Instagram and tells the world that he's very disappointed. Good luck to the boys, all that sort of stuff. Subsequently, there's interviews on Cycling News with Zach Dempster, which kind of just muddies the water even more, where he goes on to say that this is not a performance issue, that this was a management issue. Now, again, you also have circling around at the moment this contract stuff isn't resolved. Well, it is resolved in the sense that he has a contract next year, but then there's the rumors floating around that he's going to Red Bull next year, which were supposedly meant to be announced according to one Twitter thing I saw last week, but then that didn't happen, so that's potentially involved here. I mean, no one really comes out of this well. I saw just before we started recording, Geraint Thomas came out and said he didn't know anything about it, that it kind of looks shit for the team. It looks kind of shit for Tom Pidcock. I don't know. Have you seen anything like this before? Have you got any scandalous suspicion or take you might have on it?
Before I comment, let's go to the results of the race and see where was the highest placed INEOS rider. Well, that's fun to do. Were they cooking something? Scrolling down, 5th? No. 10th? No. 12th? No. Tymon Ahrensman, 15th, INEOS. 33rd, Ben Swift, 11 minutes back.
Ahrensman had a good ride. What's weird about that is Ahrensman had what would have been a really good final support rider ride for the leader.
Yes.
It's clear who the leader of this race was.
Okay, that kind of lines up. Not a performance-based reason to not pick a rider. Okay, yep. Management-based decision. Well, firstly, if you've put a rider on a short list, even up to 2 days before, you can just not pick them. So they don't have to lock it in a week before. So it's kind of up to the discretion of the team to do it. Why would you do that? And seemingly no one has really an explanation.
Is there a potential that Rule 5.8 has been crossed?
There's different. Okay. Yes.
Should we fill the audience in to what Rule 5.8 is?
Potentially a 5.8 violation because the INEOS would know what this. You don't just do this for no reason. It looks terrible for the team. And Pidcock is a really popular rider. And he's a British rider. Why would you want to piss off all the cycling fans that love Pidcock by doing this?
Did you say he's the highest paid INEOS road rider?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But he signed with them till 2027 too. So you're right. What's 5.8 violation?
So Rule 5.8 is we had rider contracts for our riders once we were sort of a UCI team, and literally Rule 5.8 was don't be a dickhead. And we had to enforce the rule once or twice, and it was pretty obvious when it needed to be enforced. I wonder whether the point has come with whatever's going on behind the scenes with contract stuff, with support, that it's become a toxic element to your team that you're willing to do without what was probably going to be a good result for the rider, and to cut that out of the vibe.
To me, it looks like a punishment call of, we don't like how you're behaving and we're going to sanction you by screwing up your season and de-picking you from a monument so close that you would have trained for and that you'd done the lead-in races for. But I don't know I don't know what he's done to do that.
The problem with doing that to someone who is a dickhead, not saying that Tom is, we're just speculating here, but that kind of action doesn't tend to be received with, oh, fair enough. No, I'll pull my head in. Yeah, good stuff. Normally it results in a rant online and then going completely off the rails. And
a double down.
And a double down.
And a triple down.
A good old-fashioned double down.
Yep.
And next minute, I'm riding an S-Works on a different team next year. So maybe that's what they want. Maybe this is the management's way of pissing him off. Let's get rid of this guy. He just desperately wants out of this team. It's like the reverse of a player holdout. It's like the management are holding out on him, hoping he just walks away from his contract and he goes and signs a new one next year at a different team, which I don't actually know if the rider has the power to do, how that actually works, because I know with the current way a transfer works mid-contract is the new team has to pay out a portion of that old contract. So whether the rider can decide that he doesn't want, anyway, maybe that's a play there by INEOS. I don't know, but yeah, doesn't look great. And it
just always looks worse for the team. I think, like even if the rider deserved it, the team always has to be the bigger mad. And so,
or at least come out and be, yes, he was unselected for disciplinary reasons.
Yes.
And that almost puts it back on the rider.
Yeah.
It's like, the team is standing firm on this, and then he can come out and say, oh, I don't know what they're talking about. But just to have this whole like, oh, no, was it him? I don't know who did the unselection. I don't know, there's some guy over there. It just seems very, very odd at best.
I mean, but it's INEOS. I mean, it's not the first odd occurrence of just things that's, I mean, with the whole Dan Bigham thing, it's just an ongoing weird situation. I don't know what's going on there.
2024 slowly coming to an end, Jesse Coyle.
Yep.
And what I thought we'd do is just go through some of the kind of pro cycling equipment, just general cycling trends that we were sort of thinking about at the beginning of the year. Give them a mark, see if they had a win or a loss as the season went along.
Okay. Yep.
And yeah, pick it out from there. So I'm going to start us off. All right? You don't mind?
Please do.
2024 has been a terrible year for aero bikes, in my opinion.
Okay.
We really haven't seen any of the big name brands launch one. In fact, we saw one of, if not the biggest name brand, basically remove one.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, we got a lot of testing results. We got a lot of like just general narrative that's, oh, the gaps are so small. Why would you bother?
Yes.
And it's feeling like it was a tidal wave a couple of months ago. Certainly, like the factor, all this sort of stuff. The gaps narrowing, and the poor old aero bike.
Yeah.
Like even though I might be there, sort of, trying to lift it up at the Dare stand at Eurobike and say, hey, care about this thing. Most people are just going, oh, no, just get an SL8, just does it all.
It's interesting because in the Chris Miller's favourite term, a zig to the zag, you had the zig of the aero matters everywhere 4 years ago. And to the zag is now it's all the same, kind of doesn't really matter. There's no gains left to had. So we've had the zig, and now we've had the zag, and now it's
the zigzag zig is coming.
Yeah, well, it needs to. Well, where's it bouncing off to?
Now, 2025. You heard it here first. Year of the aero bike.
Okay,
it's coming back massively.
Okay,
there's going to be some obvious ones. Yeah. Cervelo, Ridley, You're gonna see these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a shock and awe coming.
Okay.
One of the big boys will get back in the game.
How does this happen though? Is it a backroom deal where they
100%.
all agree? Look, guys, 23, 24, just stop pushing it because we're gonna hit the end of that line too quick. And so they zagged, and then do they agree? All right, 2025, all bets are off. We're gonna zig again.
Pull up the clip of me at Eurobike being all sooky, saying, I don't even know why I'm here because it's all done. It's all sorted. 2028, it's done. It's in the books. Like, and this is exactly, you're dead right. What's the Illuminati? It's still the Illuminati. They're all in there.
Mm.
We'll just play with them. We'll just play drive chain efficiency. Let's give them that 12 months.
Yep.
Aero, snappiness there. We'll just go in a little circle. We're going to go round and round and round. Next year, Jesse and Chris will be talking about aero bikes.
Good.
But yeah, I do genuinely think one of them will come out with a big, fat, deep head tube hunk of metal.
Yes.
And we'll be very, very excited about it.
So you're saying overall, aero bikes in 2024 was a big
dead.
Yep.
Big dud.
Pointless. Okay.
What you got for me?
One by drive chains. We thought 2 years ago, the cassettes get bigger. We're all on one by. Chris was selling it to us. This is what's front derailleur for? These big cassettes. We're going to have 16 speed in the back, and that's it. And you're done. Big total fail. Was used at like couple stages at the tour by a few riders. Okay, SRAM still kind of pushing it. Shimano not interested. I think that's taken a back seat for a couple of years. I reckon that, that's getting zagged for a few years.
Do you know what? It's one of these live by the sword, die by the sword situations. And the year of Jumbo Visma just winning everything that was a bike race was great for one buyer.
Mm-hmm.
But you die by the sword as well.
Mm.
And I'll say it now, like I've got it here on the list, like Jumbo Visma, that's the year from hell, obviously, the year that they've had. And I think with that, the one by drive chains, that little frothiness is kind of, Wout just smashing it with it. It's just not, that's what it needs. It's still in that pro cycling froth factor of the one by. And if you're not seeing it on the podium, you just start to ease up on it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to say, like from a actual practicality perspective, I talked it up big time.
You did?
Yep. And I still think it's a good, like I'd still run it, but
you don't.
I don't. And I did think that with that SRAM gravel group set that came out, that would be the link. But because it's the direct, what do they call it? UDH. It's meh. I mean, maybe it might work on your Melee, actually. I don't know if it's UDH compatible. But my point being,
I don't even know what you're talking about. I just know the term.
It's not relevant.
Okay.
So, yeah, the ability to slap that Explorer derailleur on is not really a thing. I'm not going to do that on my TCR because I can't. So, yeah, it sort of died away, I think. And even the classified thing, I've just gone off classified because they weren't very nice to me at Eurobike, and it's just a personal sledge. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Can I take up the next one?
Keep going, yeah. What do we got?
Ceramic speed. I know that's like the most lame hot take. It's like anytime you see a video like tech you don't need, it's like ceramic speed's number one in every single one of those videos. But
do you mean ceramic speed the OSPW, or do you mean the brand as a whole?
Unfortunately, the brand as a whole, and I'll give you an example of this. So when we were talking about those fast sports wheels that came out that GC did his review on, they were branded with actual ceramic speed branded hubs, which
bearings.
Bearings.
Yep.
Sorry, which back in the day would have been like a whoa, what? Like they've got ceramic speed.
Yeah.
I think we spent 30 minutes talking about those wheels. I'm pretty sure we didn't mention it.
Didn't mention it.
It's just a nothing burger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that for that brand, and also the thing with like the waxing the chain thing, I kind of feel like Silka's slid a bit into that avenue of, hey, we're the performance guys now. Like,
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, where the
sauce.
rabbit hole you go if you're in this optimization algorithm. Yeah. Okay.
That's a good T-shirt. Optimization algorithm. Yeah. So just the brand itself, I don't know what the next move is for them because they've kind of been jumped a bit. And there's that.
But there's only so much you can do with an OSPW. I mean, like, because you remember Astana were running them years ago, and that was like, oh, Yak and Fuglsang on Astana's got an OSPW. It was kind of frothy, but it's just the same thing. It's just just wears off.
I will say this is my opinion of like people. This is my opinion of everyone's opinion, like from bunch chat, not my actual opinion of real life.
Okay.
So by that I mean, I still feel like drive chain efficiency is very, very important. I don't think it's aerodynamics important, but I would put it very close to weight importance on my road bike setup. So I still think it's important, but I just think the buzz, the heat has gone out of it. Maybe because of the pricing of it, I'm not sure. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to have carries the same weight with it anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Like I remember was it the Factor that had a ceramic speed headset? And that was, you loaded up an Ostro landing page on the website and like not far down you have to scroll before we have a ceramic speed integrated headset. Like that was like, whoa, like frothy. Yeah.
You going to bring anything positive to the equation here, or can I just keep hitting negatives? I'm such a negative guy.
Can I do a quick fire couple of positives?
Mm-hmm.
Heat training, that was good. So that saw a bit of a kick up this year. So not that there was every man and his dog was talking about the hype of heat training, but I think that was one of the things that you saw GCN do a video on it, or maybe Trainer Road talk about it, and it gets a little bit of a hype, and you go, actually, is anyone actually doing this? And half the time it's just bullcrap and doesn't work. That was one of the ones where they were talking about it, and it was like research was being done and was coming out fairly recently, and pro teams had started using it, and riders had started using it and posting about it. Like the Pogacar doing the Instagram story, riding on the trainer with his heat suit on. I think it was in the training realm, it was the year of heat prepping. I think that was it was good.
Does that continue into 2025?
Yeah, I think you'll see more of it. I think it'll be compulsory. It'll be like for a lot of teams now doing altitude camps. It's like you have to do a heat prep block, especially for obviously the whole European season's in summer, the whole Asia tour season's in the heat. I think it'll keep going. Okay, another positive one. Actually, I've got this is separate. So tubeless tires. As much as Specialized tried to bloody resist us with that Roval release where like Alaphilippe was still running tubes, they were a bit of the odd sheep of the black sheep of the pro peloton. And so, Cofidis, whatever. The main teams, all tubeless. Everyone's running tubeless. So that was a massive win. Like it wasn't that long ago before, that team's running tubeless and they're trying tire inserts. It was just a weird thing to do. So I think that's a well and truly absolute dead and buried win. But I do think the wider tire thing didn't really hit. Like it was this year for the Tour de France when all the cycling media channels did their overview of Tadej Pogacár's bike and they're measuring his tire width and they're like, holy crap, 33 measured width on the rear. Like, and that was like mind blowing. That was the widest tire in the pro peloton. A lot of teams still stuck on 28s and 28 measured. So for the whole wider tire thing, as much as we bang on about it, I think that's actually a fail for the year. I think the teams are taking a very long time to keep up.
I said this before, but I think that's purely due to the way that the Giant guy described Giant is like this massive tanker, and to turn a tanker, it takes a big radius, whereas Fast Sports, CRW can change a mold like that and push out a 25 mil rib internal much quicker because they don't have a 2028 release product already locked and stamped.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think we're going to see that for quite a few years, where the Chinese brands are actually ahead of the mainstream brands, which therefore makes it ahead of what the pro cycling brands are, because they're the ones that are in pro cycling.
Oh, and a lot of the pro teams don't have freedom to do whatever they want. They're stuck with Dura-Ace wheels and whatever 1,000, 2,000 tires that the sponsor gives them. So they're kind of stuck there. Anything else? What do you got?
Pro cycling. So pro cycling coverage.
Okay.
I want to talk about coverage because we're 12 months, 11 months-ish on from GCN Plus, veiled GCN Plus dying. So essentially for us here in Australia, a good chunk of the US, that's a large proportion of the season without all the other racing that we're used to. And I do think that hurt just generally pro cycling because like just speaking personally, I was really only just bobbing in or seeing YouTube highlights. I wasn't catching up with stage 3 of the Vuelta Catalunya like I might have done 2 years ago. And I do think that that's hurt my overall engagement in the sport.
On the actual the actual watching of pro cycling as a whole, it really is the same, isn't it? I mean, it's commentators and there's a motorbike with a camera and a helicopter shot. So that actually hasn't really changed. I don't know if you can think of anything because there's one thing that's changed. The only thing I really think of this year in pro cycling races, I'm thinking of the Tour de France, was the team car radio segments getting broadcasted into the live stream. Do you think that's a win or a nothing burger?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I mean, I thought there were quite a few good ones. The EF car every now and again gave pretty interesting, no, we need to bring this back. No, we need to get Carapaz up there type things. And then there's the, come on, boys, we need to be the front for this section and whatever type things. But it's a small bit of value add.
But don't you think we were getting... So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's, adding and making it more interesting. But we were sold this dream of you're going to have drones and you're going to have live on-board split screens and you're going to have lactate measurements and you're going to have blood sugar readings, and it's not. You're watching this. You could just as well be watching a race from 2012. Like, there's not that much different. Maybe it's in HD. It's gone up a notch in terms of the quality. But yeah, in terms of actual racing, there's not much. You watch a lot more other sports than I do, though. If you watch a lot of other sports than I do, can you think of any examples of other sports that have really progressed in how you're actually the viewing experience of someone watching it at home compared to cycling? Or is every sport kind of the same? Maybe the graphics on the screen just get updated a little bit.
That's a good question. It's less about what you see and what you hear. So, look, we're not seeing GoPros inside NFL helmets or anything like that in terms of the coverage. What you are seeing is a big lean into alternate commentary. And so as a viewer, you'll have a choice to have the box standard, play-by-play guy and his guy next to him, and alternate commentary teams. So speaking of NFL, they have the Manning cast, which is Peyton and Eli Manning. And they often have like celebrity guests come in, and that's ESPN is leaning hard into trying to give alternate commentaries, give different ways of watching the game to engage different demographics. And I will talk a bit about commentary as one of the things today, but imagine that. You had the standard commentary guys, and then you had Patrick and Benji on another option, giving their thing all as part as the coverage. So anyway, alternate commentary would be what I'm seeing in other sports. One thing that I have appreciated in any of my experience watching cycling so far, I haven't been bombarded with betting shit, which has like just taken over a lot of other sports that I watch, you'll get the current odds of whatever the game is that you're watching. So thank God that hasn't crept in. I just can't overstate, though, how important and integral the commentary team is into your experience of cycling. It's what I hate to say, but it just makes or breaks it for me. And so the way I watch pro cycling this year, I won't do this again next year because actually my subscription's up in a couple of weeks. I watched Flow Sports with a ExpressVPN account. So that allowed me to get the UCI International feed. And the commentary on that team was Anthony McCrossan and Nico Roach. And I really liked their commentary. It was just the two of them. Nico Roach, former like rider, but he didn't overplay that. And that's what I really liked. He didn't go full bubble chat. In fact, he was almost at pains to talk about riders.
The back in my
day stuff. It was a breath of fresh air. And I'm just going to say this once because the local commentary in Australia overplays that Melbourne bubble shit just way too much, to the point when during the World Championships and specifically the women's individual time trial, that was horrendous, the way they commentated on that. Like, if you didn't live in Melbourne, it was like, what the hell are they talking about? Beach Road? What's going on here? So, shout out to Anthony McCrossan and Nico Roach, because I do think there is just a massive, there's a massive gain to a really good commentary team, basically.
Mm-hmm.
All right, finally, Jesse, look, we'll come back. We'll do more of these, definitely. But I got to finish with this one. Massive fail, Chinese group sets.
Yeah, no. It was a fucking massive. Well, no, see, if you're a wheel topper, I reckon you're probably thinking, you're happy. No, but you're right. The dream's not alive. We're not all going out and buying Chinese group sets for the next build. Park that one in the garage for a couple more years, I think. And but that was the dream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2024.
Mate, you were part of the dream.
Off. I lived it. I lived and breathed it. And it's not there. It's not there. So, yeah. You said try again in 2 years. 2026. I'd love to sit here and say, yeah.
I hate to say it because I don't feel should be the route for a lot of like cycling brands, but I just do think they need to get their teeth into pro cycling and see what happens and just see all the stuff breaking and failing. And because I remember hearing the stories of like when Zip first got in and just their wheels snapping and all the kind of shit that they went through. I just think Wheeltop have got to go do that. I pity the poor team that they have to do it with, but if they really want it, they need proper development. Like, I just come back to this thing of like, you on this group set, this beta group set that I would argue has never been tested as hard as it was tested for the 4 weeks that you had it on your bike. I just pay some proper beta testers.
Did we chat about this? Because Wheeltop acquired a majority stake in Rota. Did we talk about that? I think we just saw it.
I felt like we did.
Did we?
No, it was a thing.
It was a thing. I don't think we talked about it. But so, I mean, Rota already has, there are teams using Rota products, I'm pretty sure. And Rota's already in the Western market. So, yeah, maybe there is a little avenue there. But that's cool. Because these chats about any Chinese brand always comes to, well, they don't give a shit about you in Australia because the domestic market's so big. Well, if Wheeltop are now a majority stakeholder in Rota, who is predominantly selling to, well, actually, maybe they do have a big stake in China, but has avenues in us and US and Europe. That could be exciting to see.
I think.
Yeah.
Memory.
Okay. No, that could be interesting. It was better than L2, who have, as far as I could see, absolutely no link. It's just like they'll have one person that's like, will deal with the entire rest of the globe. And so they clearly don't care. Whereas there's some effort here to acquire a company that has Western links. So it's cool.
All right, as I said, I reckon we'll revisit that as we as others bob up. Potentially the Enve Melee. Will it be a big or a bad year? We will find out. So do you want to do the what was the nutrition one? Subscriber question.
Subscriber question. Hey Chris, just hoping to get your advice on diet and eating. I've been cycling for almost a year now. That's a post-COVID baby. And I'm more interested in the performance side of it than other aspects. I'm currently 83 kilos and would like to get down to 78 to 79. I'm just curious on what kind of things you eat on a day-to-day basis that give you what you need for all your training but still enjoy what you eat. I like to have a sweet treat. Is this detrimental to performance? I'm writing 10 to 12 hours a week for reference of how much I'm training. I'm doing at the moment. Any help would be appreciated. Thank you. But what do you eat? This is the biggest thing I have is what do you actually, when push comes to shove and you stopped reading forums and you go to sleep and you wake up the next day, well, you got to eat breakfast and you got to eat lunch and you got to eat dinner. And this person wanted to get from 83 down to 78 to 79. So they want to lose 4 kilos. The actual, I always think the crux of it is, well, what are my meals? I think that's where people struggle because you can read theory all day long and then it gets to lunchtime and you're going, well, what
on
am
a day,
eating?
Okay, on a day that I ride, so especially on a morning I ride. So let's say Sunday. Sunday I did a criterium race out in Sutherland. So got up, had rice bubbles. Rice bubbles, poured sugar over my rice bubbles. Had a coffee with that. It was a black coffee. Went out, did my race, 2 bottles of 100 grams sugars, and I had a Morton gel actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Came back and immediately had a protein shake with some almond milk and frozen mango. 30 minutes later, I had probably a cup of rice with eggs, soy sauce, and some tomatoes. Water, drinking, etc. Probably another coffee at that point.
How long was the ride?
3 hours.
Okay.
Then 2 hours later, I had some gluten-free Wheat Bix with yogurt and some banana.
Okay.
4 Wheat Bix.
Mm-hmm.
Normal milk. Then more water and drinking stuff. 4:30 chips. I'm into chips. I don't have a sweet tooth normally during the day because of the fact I've eaten or drunk sugar. So I have a savory sort of craving, and that would be out of just a normal pack of chips. So
just a
kettle,
salted
chips. Got to be salty.
Okay.
Definitely, it would be salty.
Yep.
And on Sunday night we had chicken breast on the barbecue with some mashed potato, and I had an entire chicken breast, good solid one,
good breast,
mashed potato,
yep.
And a side salad of like iceberg lettuce, which I shared with Elizabeth.
Okay.
Sparkling water for my washing it down. So that's my thing. I don't drink, so that's
and a sleeping pill when you went off to bed.
Sleeping pill. So that's about. So we eat with the kids. So we're eating at like 5:30 on a Sunday.
Yep.
And then, by kind of 7, I'm snacky. So I had a hot chockey with to old gold dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I might have put my hand in the kids' caramello koala drawer.
Oh, no.
Snuck out a couple of those.
Yep.
And then before bed, I had a little pillar magnesium to settle the legs. And that's the day in the life of Chris.
You've answered it. That's what you eat. Okay. Because this is also what I struggle with. I can't, the theory. Like, okay, I'm writing, let's say that example. It's a Sunday. You kind of know what you have to have for breakfast, carbs. You know the fueling for in-ride. That's crucial because if you don't do that properly, you'll be starving for the rest of the day. You will be binge eating. It's impossible to have a proper diet if you're not fueling the ride adequately. And so you've done that right. And then you get to lunch. Well, most people can know what they should be having. It should be moderate to high in protein. If it's a high ride day, moderate to high in carbohydrate, and then probably low to moderate in fat. I'll dump a fat at lunch. So actually getting ideas on what to eat, AI is perfect for this. It's what it's built for.
Interesting.
And so you can just put in the constraints of what you want out of a meal, or in this case, that when I was actually doing this for a rider, or what you want for a snack. And so for this was a rider that wanted to was looking for snack ideas. So going high protein snacks. So put in the amount. Tell it, I want 15 different snack ideas that are high in protein, 20 to 30 grams, moderate in carbohydrate, 15 to 40 grams, and low to moderate in fat, 0 to 15 grams. And give it a challenge. I'm vegetarian and gluten-free, and I like pink foods. Whatever dietary restrictions you got, and it'll list it out for you. And then, so that takes the sort of the thinking out of it. So all you have to know is the theory around what you want to get out of each meal, which is not that hard. High carb, moderate protein at each meal, so you hit your protein target for the day, and then fat around that. And then it'll list it all out for you. And then all you really have to do is pick the ones you like the look of, and then be bothered to do the preparation, go to the shop and buy all the ingredients you need, and then tell it, write me a shopping list to cook all these. And it'll probably give you a shopping list. And then you just have to have the effort of going and doing it. So I think that wasn't me pretending to use AI. I said, just ask ChatGPT, it'll tell you what to eat. You just got to know the input. So that's probably what my suggestion would be. If you kind of know what meals should look like, but you just don't know what to cook, go and use that. It saves you spending hours scrolling through cookbooks and Google. Then it's just a matter of, it's just the preparation of it. Like, get to lunch and you haven't prepped anything and you don't have the food in the fridge and, you're screwed. So then it's just a matter of putting effort in to prep it.
When all else fails, eat rice.
Yeah.
Honestly. That's, yeah. Like I know that if I start to feel hungry, I've got like a window before I go into mental Chris mode.
Mm-hmm.
And and if it just something needs to be satisfied, rice and a boiled egg, get it done.
Now, so the rider was 83 kilos. So I don't know how tall they are. Let's assume they're your height. Like, they're overweight. So losing weight is, if we can at least get to the agreement that they have excess body fat that they want to lose. That's something you need to assess first. Is it even worth you losing weight? Now, assuming it is, another question I like to ask is, do you know why you're 83 kilos and not 79? Because there are some people that they're like, yeah, I know. I go and get Chinese for lunch across the road every day. Like, some people know, and it just takes someone telling them, and then they go, okay, like, I know what I should be eating. I know what sort of meal should be eating. I just need to go to the effort to actually prep it and do it. And that's an easy case. Like, that's not that difficult. It just takes effort. But sometimes people answer and they go, no, I really don't know. Like, I am overweight and I feel like I'm already fairly restricting and I feel like I should be 78, but I'm 83. And that's where you have a bit of a problem on your hands, because you can't really just tell someone to eat less if they think they're already eating fairly restrictively. So that's where you're probably starting to look at more specific advice. Maybe you're probably seeing a dietitian, sports dietitian, and that's where you would probably get your food assessed. So you do a food recall and get an expert to look at exactly what you're eating so they can show you where improvements could be made, because that person doesn't even know what they're doing wrong. So have a think about that too. If you're this person, do you know what you're doing wrong, or you're really totally lost, in which case you should probably not be listening to us now. You should probably get actual advice.
I wish there was some like silver bullet. Like, I was sitting there thinking, even things like with the case of the person who's not really sure, and I'm not a calorie counter, or I was once in my life, and that was a disaster. But just being aware of when you drink calories, how many calories are in those drinks, because especially produced things. I mean, we're both sitting here drinking iced chocky coffees, but a lot of these things have way more fat than you actually like. If someone placed that amount of fat down in like bit of butter, you'd be like, whoa, what? I just drunk that? So just paying attention to the calories that you drink can maybe be a thing for someone who just has no idea why they aren't losing any weight and they think they're eating healthily, potentially. I do think like sugar-free sparkling drinks are really, really, I don't think they're overhyped. I think they're actually a really clever way to just be a little bit cautious when it comes to your calorie intake. Trying to be specific.
Some of these like coffee things are insane. This is, we come here, I got a shop down the road and I'm like, oh, look at this new one they got. It's got 250 milligrams of caffeine. This one doesn't. Because that's more than the SAS nootropic gel. I bet there's people drinking this just sitting around the office.
Yeah, my mum.
And it's like a full dose, like research grade equivalent of caffeine. And they're just, oh yeah, just morning tea.
Mum's on the triple shot dares. I was like, yeah, there's like 2 nootropics in this, Mum. What are you doing? It's like, no, it's just one of these little things. That's how much it's in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like some of these drinks and shit, it's a lot of stuff in there. That said, an actual can of Coke doesn't actually have that much caffeine or sugar when I'm talking about when you're doing a slop stop.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's not good enough. You need more hardcore things than
they've shifted all the drinks now. Like at least in Australia, even a Sprite, like a regular Sprite isn't regular Sprite. It's artificially sweetened. So even the regular drinks are almost halfway to a Coke Zero or a Sprite Zero. They've just started doing that now.
If you need the real bulk sugar hit now at a slop stop, I really would recommend the Slurpee. The Slurpee is basically frozen sugar at this point. Obviously, it's difficult to get it in, but to get real good quantity of sugar in, days have changed. Sorry, we've ended up just talking to people about how to dump more sugar into your diet.
And you're asking how to lose weight.
Apologies.
Okay. Yes.
What's the most overrated cycling achievement in the sort of cycling bubble?
Everesting.
Everesting. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Now, there are aspects of the Everesting, which is, maybe we should have put this in the chat about wins or losses for the year. What happened to Everesting? Used to be a thing. No one Everests anymore. So there are aspects of the Everest that were cool. Like you were simply on the same climb for so long that just people could come and join you throughout the day. Morning, lunchtime, afternoon. Well, he's going to be there. He's just running up this hill a gazillion times. So the community aspect was extremely unique, that you're just there and people can join you, do a few reps, go home. So that was cool. But it was one of those things that it was just a matter of planning. So getting the fueling right, picking the right hill, picking the right day, getting the gearing right. It was a lot of it was in the prep. And then it was just a matter of, well, as long as you ride enough, you can really just get out there and you've set this goal and you know everyone's going to care because it's an overrated cycling physical achievement. Well, that carries you through and people are joining you. But it wasn't, I would say, someone doing a 20-minute max effort and hitting 5 watts per kilo is light years ahead of I did an Everesting. I think it got way too much hype, justified in some regards, but in the physical side of things, way overshot. As someone who, did you ever do an Everest?
No. To say I have no interest is another massive understatement. Yeah.
Everesting world record, different story. Like for the people that were racing them was kind of stupid, mad fun. Get around that. So that's probably my out. What about you? What's super overrated?
Oh, it's because you sort of took mine then, unfortunately. Strava, while we're at it, while we're cleaning everything up, can you just get rid of local legends? It's the stupidest thing. It means nothing. Sorry, that's the most... it has no value. It is completely worthless to everyone. So it's actually the opposite of being overrated. I realize that. No, you've probably took mine there. Is there any underrated achievement that you can kind of think off the top of your head? I always think underrated is, for me anyway, in my world, is getting a result in a criterium.
Oh, fuck. I was just about to say that.
Because it's like if I explain to someone, oh, I won a bike race and it was 235 Ks. They go, whoa, 235, oh my God, that's amazing. I won a bike race, it was 35 minutes. Oh, great.
Couldn't be that hard.
I mean,
I could probably ride for 35 minutes.
An episode of Friends.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it just, and I'm like, I was vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
I could basically see blood coming out my nostrils.
B grade local crit. The person that gets their first win in B grade has put in light years more work than someone that's Everested. And now the person that wins B grade, someone takes a photo in their iPhone, they get 30 kudos. Someone does an Everest, it's like the whole village is there. But like there's so many more moving parts to getting a B grade criterium win. I don't know if I can be bothered going into them all. But that's the whole package. That's the mental, the skill, the fitness, the tactics, everything. It's so incredibly difficult. But it's just, blech. Oh, you want to crit. No one cares.
It's impossible to articulate that to someone because there's so many variables. There's so much there's so much that had to go right for that occurrence to happen. And it's just not as sexy as I went up and down this hill for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I totally get it. All right, before you go, you can just nod off to sleep. I just want to can I just quickly talk about the America's Cup?
Oh, fuck.
It's kind of interesting. I thought it was interesting. So as we're speaking, what's called the match, the final is now taking place. So that's between Emirates Team New Zealand and INEOS, Jesse, without Tom Pidcock. No, stay over here. Sorry. Without Tom Pidcock, got INEOS Britannia. So it's and they are racing in Barcelona. Why the race is in Barcelona is a long story, but it's basically New Zealand's home event. They're racing AC-75s. Have you seen these boats at all? Yeah. Anyway, they're spaceships. It's amazing. They're sailboats on foils. The actual hull of the boat almost never touches the water. These things are going at over 100 kilometers an hour with double the wind speed, more than double the wind speed a lot of the time. It's just, yeah. Anyway, it's quite impressive to watch. But there is a cycling aspect to it, which I just wanted to briefly mention. So on board are these things called cyclors, and it's a really odd sort of system that they came up with. And so the previous winners, being New Zealand, get to choose what the next America's Cup is going to be, what boats they're going to ride, and basically what the crews are going to look like. And one of these things is each boat will have 4 cyclors, 4 people pedaling bikes on board, the point of which is to build hydraulic power to move the foils and the sails. So there's no electrical capacity to it. And it actually genuinely matters because the speed these things are going at, the forces that are being put through the sails, they have to generate on board through the athletes pedaling the power to move the sails. And so the kind of powers are sort of interesting in the sense that you can't store any of this power. It has to be delivered at the kind of moment that it's needed. And so to achieve the maneuvers that they need to achieve, they often have to account for over 1,200 watts for stretches of 4 to 5 minutes. And that's between 4 riders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, like for these guys, it's a lot of your former colleagues in here, mostly rowers, who are just churning out big boy watts. Much of them sort of trying to do that 500-600 watts for 10, 15 minutes at a time and that kind of thing. Add into the fact that I don't know if you obviously haven't seen it, but they're in a boat hull.
I have seen it. I've watched the GCM video.
Yeah, kind of covered, looking down in a hot, humid, like boat environment, trying to churn this power out at the same time. It's just a wild crossover of our sports that will actually impact. And it's been, so as we speak today, I think New Zealand are leading 4-0. It's looking like it's going to be a wipeout, the actual final. But a lot of that is due to their tacking speed. So the speed that they can change direction at. And that can also then equate to their Cyclaws being superior to the INEOS ones. So, yeah, I wanted to shout that out. And also just because, like, pro cycling and stuff, it's often like, the kit that they're on it's not relevant to us. What's so cool about this is where the technology that has developed these spaceship boats with these foils is changing sailing and like the way boats move. And it's kind of cool that research and that development is happening because of racing. And it's cool to kind of remember that in our sport, stuff gets better because ultimately there is a elite racing aspect to it. And there is a quote unquote trickle down. Now, you're not going to see Jesse's granddad suddenly racing AC-75 foiled yachts at 75 knots on the weekends, but you do start to see these foils appearing in certain boats. So yeah, that's my little piece on it.
Okay.
Again, check out the GCN video. Unfortunately, the team that they followed actually got knocked out pretty early on.
It was the US,
yep.
Wasn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it was the British against the Italians, though there weren't many Italians. There was a few Aussies on board that boat. But yeah, it looks like the Kiwis are going to run away with the final, and yeah.
So these Cyclaws, these blokes pedaling in the hull of the boat, was this their full-time job for the season?
Yes.
Is that what they're like 100%. Pro cyclists?
100%.
Okay.
They're pro
it's
cyclists,
not some
mate.
side thing.
No, this is no side. There's no side hustle in the America's Cup. Like the money involved here is vastly superior to a professional cycling team. Vastly superior. You add in the research and development that goes into this stuff.
So INEOS would be dropping more cash for that boat than the pro cycling team?
Couldn't 100% answer that, but I would be very confident to say yes. But it would probably be a smaller window
That's so
of time.
weird. Who the hell cares about sailing?
It's a funny one. You're right. It's a bit like, yeah.
That's so weird.
Like equestrian and stuff like that. It lives in this
Everyone rides
alternate
a
university.
bike.
Yeah.
Okay. What an odd. Yeah. Okay. The Emirates Cup is sponsored by Louis Vuitton.
Potentially, it's just a big money laundering.
There's always that option.
just slide the money through there. I'm watching Ozark at the moment, so I'm all into money laundering.
Okay. Anyway, interesting.
There you go. And yeah, by the time this comes out, it may be run and won. But Australia won the first America's Cup. Well, sorry, America won a lot of America's Cups, but then Australia was the first to defeat the Americans in 1983. Ben Lexon.
Aussie.
There you go. That's where the boxing kangaroo came from, as you may not know. All right. See you next week.
See you then.